Welcome back, everyone. The iPhone SE 3 just ended up officially coming out, so let's go and compare it against the iPhone 7 Plus and see which specific iPhone you should go and get. Now, I would tell you the SE 3 is probably the better one in most areas, but the 7 Plus is better in some areas too. I will leave some links in the description of both these iPhones if you want to get them from there. You can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely tell a pretty big difference. The iPhone 7 Plus is a much bigger phone. You have a 5.5-inch IPS panel on the front, and it's actually not a bad panel, but similar to the SE3, the bezel around it I'm just not a fan of. I never really like these, big ginormous bezels, and I still like the home button. I like Touch ID, but I just don't like the amount of, bezel around it. But I love Touch ID. I just love unlocking my phone right there with the fingerprint rather than Face ID. But this is still not an ugly looking phone, but it definitely has a lot of bezel. On the iPhone SE3, on the other hand, you do have a 4.7-inch IPS panel. So this panel is very good too. There's really not a crazy big amount of things wrong with it, but again, very similar to the iPhone 7 Plus. A lot of bezel around it. You do have the home button right here with Touch ID, just like the 7 Plus, but again, you have the bezel. It's up to you whether you like it or not. Personally, I'm not a fan of it, but it is what it is. In terms of thickness and thickness, very funny. They actually kind of have the same type of vibe going on with it. In fact, the 7 Plus may be a little bit thinner. I could be totally wrong, but the 7 Plus is a much bigger phone, so keep that in mind. And on the back, we have aluminum back completely on the iPhone 7 Plus. The iPhone SE3 has the glass back, which is really nice. We do have a dual camera setup on the 7 Plus, which is always really cool. Single camera setup on the iPhone SE3. And the SE3 does have wireless charging, so that's a big thing to keep in mind. They both have IP certification, which is really good. Lightning ports at the bottom of both these phones too, so those are some extra things to keep in mind as well. So in terms of the outside, I would definitely say the iPhone SE3 feels like more of the flagship one, but the 7 Plus still doesn't feel cheap, and I think that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind. Now, in terms of longevity, this is kind of a big thing to keep in mind. The iPhone 7 Plus came out in 2016, so this is definitely not a brand new iPhone anymore, and it's coming not at the end of its life cycle, but it's going to be there sooner than later. So if you're planning on updating your iPhone at some point, it may be a better point if you update it now than later, to be completely honest. I'm not 100% too sure like which way to put it, but this iPhone is probably going to be getting iOS 16, but the fact that we even don't know kind of puts this iPhone in a weird, situation. But because the 7 Plus is still supported with iOS 15, it's probably going to be getting iOS 16. If you own this iPhone, then I think it's fine. But if you're actively trying to go and buy this iPhone, I would probably recommend going up to something like an iPhone 10 if you have the money to do so. If not, I guess the 7 Plus is fine since it's still supported. The iPhone SE3, on the other hand, just got released. So this iPhone is realistically going to be lasting much longer than the 7 Plus. However, it doesn't mean you have to go and buy this phone. I think an iPhone 11 is probably a better phone than this one, to be honest. But definitely when it comes down to these two, the iPhone SE3 is going to be the device that is supported the longest between these two for sure. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these iPhones. The iPhone SE3 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 7 Plus has that Apple A10 Fusion chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one was the faster iPhone between both of these. Okay, there we go. Hopefully all the apps are cleared out in the background as you guys can tell. So let's get into it. And I don't know why I just inverted. There we go. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone SE3 was substantially faster than the iPhone 7 Plus there. Hopping out of this one, music 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone SE3 again was the faster one. And the iPhone 7 Plus, took a lot longer than I was expecting. So that was very interesting. Hopping out of that one, App Store 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone SE3 again is actually much faster than the iPhone 7 Plus. We did get into a couple different panels there, so keep that in mind. I will go ahead and actually load into this specific app right here. Just kind of scroll through these. And scrolling wise, they both kind of give me the same vibe. There's really not a big difference there, but that was actually crazy. Let's go and click the home button, 3, 2, 1. They both kind of close out of the app. Let's get into recents, 3, 2, 1. So getting into recents is a little bit faster on the iPhone SE3, but closing out of an application is about the same speed. Let's go and get into photos, 3, 2, 1. SE3 again is the faster one. Camera 3, 2, 1. And I actually don't know which one was faster there. Maybe the 7 Plus. That was kind of weird. Mail 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone SE3 again is the faster one. Clock 3, 2, 1. And about the same on both. Not a big difference there. Let's go into Apple TV 3, 2, 1. And actually, the 7 Plus loaded a little bit faster, but this one loaded into the image faster. So kind of a very interesting thing there. We can try, that kind of covers up all those, to be honest. We have a bunch of these third-party apps. Let's go into it. Let's hit Facebook 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone SE3, this one was kind of logged into an account, so that's kind of a different thing. Fruit Ninja 3, 2, 1. the SE3 was faster. I'm scared to like wipe the dust off because I don't want to, interfere with the speed comparison, but the iPhone SE3 was substantially faster there for sure. Hopping out of this app, let's go and get into stack. 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone SE3 again is the faster one. The iPhone 7 Plus, definitely not showing its age, but it's definitely slower than the iPhone SE3, and it might be showing its age a little bit. Let's go into thank you, which I do not have. Let's do snake versus blocks. 3, 2, 1. And the iPhone SE3 was substantially faster there yet again, and the iPhone S7 Plus was a little bit behind. Let's do Netflix. 3, 2, 1. And again, the iPhone SE3 was the faster one there. Hopping out of that one, let's go and get into the Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And I think it is going to be quite obvious that the iPhone SE3 is going to be faster. And a big thing to keep in mind, we do get into this downloading content panel, but we have gotten that on pretty much both phones. So it is just a faster experience on the iPhone SE3 to get past that panel. So in this specific case, I mean, you can definitely tell the 7 Plus is slugging along. I mean, even if we don't even factor in that downloading content panel, it was still a much faster experience on the iPhone SE3 without a doubt. So definitely a faster experience on the SE3. And we'll just do one more app. Let's go and do Snapchat 3, 2, 1. And again, I mean, substantially faster on the iPhone SE3. The 7 Plus, like I said, definitely showing its age. So when it comes down to it, the iPhone SE3 is definitely the faster one for sure. It's a faster phone in every single area than the iPhone 7 Plus, which is good. If you're going from 7 Plus to an iPhone SE3, you're definitely going to be getting a speed difference. That is 100% for sure. So that covers it up here. Now let's go and hit on the cameras. And on the back, like I mentioned, the 7 Plus has that dual camera setup, so a wide and a telephoto lens, where the iPhone SE3 has that single wide angle lens. They both can do 4K on the back, but the 7 Plus can only do 4K at 30. The SE3 can do 4K at 60. Now, with something like the iPhone 7 Plus's camera, as I mentioned before, for many years, I personally used this phone for a year or two. This was not a bad camera when it first came out. It was actually very interesting because it had that dual camera setup. We've never really seen that on an iPhone before. We do have things like portrait mode, which is awesome, and we do have the ability of zooming into a photo quite a bit. So those are some really big things to keep in mind. Some other things to keep in mind: you can only do 4K at 60. You can only do 4K at 30 on the back, where the SE3 can do 4K at 60. Also, you're getting, I think, a better quality lens from the 7 Plus to the iPhone SE3. So you're getting an upgrade in the quality department on the iPhone SE3 for sure. So that's a thing to keep in mind. I don't think it would be necessarily a deal breaker to buy a 7 Plus over the SE3 because of the camera, but it is something to keep in mind that the SE3 probably has a better camera overall. With this iPhone, you're definitely getting the better camera, I think, in terms of the quality standpoint, but it is weird because you are missing that telephoto lens, so you don't have the ability of zooming in a ton to a photo. So that can be a little bit of a downside for some people. Personally, you still have, portrait mode and everything, which is perfectly fine for me, but I do like having an ultra-wide sensor, and that's something both these phones lack. So when it comes down to it, I don't think one phone is way better than the other one, but I would probably say that the 7 Plus is a good camera still, surprisingly, but the iPhone SE3 is the better camera overall. So that's probably the best way I can describe it. Now, to kind of sum up this video, I can definitely tell you the iPhone SE3, I think, is the better phone overall. There really isn't an area where the 7 Plus is going to completely, annihilate the iPhone SE3. I think possibly the only thing is like size. I like the size of the iPhone 7 Plus, but the iPhone SE3 is going to be the better phone in every single area. If with the 7 Plus, for example, this is still a phone that's supported with software, so if you own this iPhone, I wouldn't really feel the need to go to an iPhone SE3. I would feel much more inclined to go from a 7 Plus to something like an iPhone XR or an iPhone 11. I think those will be really good stepping points to getting into, I guess, the higher end iPhone 13, iPhone 14, iPhone 15 in the future. But if you own an iPhone 7 Plus, I would probably recommend keeping it for however long you want to. And the way I see it, the longer you keep this, the cheaper this iPhone is going to get in the used market. I think at $429 though, it's a little overpriced. I think iPhone 11 is, strategically priced pretty well, but this one, on the other hand, isn't really super crazy in my opinion. I think the SE3 is a good phone, and it's definitely an upgrade from the iPhone 7 Plus, but I do think you should probably, end up getting an iPhone 11 or an iPhone XR in my opinion. So that kind of covers it. If you guys have any other questions or anything, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.